It is 2016 and multicultural Singapore is celebrated as a cultural haven rich with Chinese, Malay, Indian and many other cultural traditions. It is as ethnically, culturally and religiously diverse as it can get. Mosques, temples and churches can be found throughout the city-state, some even built right next door to each other, and people of various communities living and interacting closely with each other.
The secret sauce is our neighborhoods, the composition of the neighborhoods, and the way the neighborhoods are designed so as to maximize interaction and give us the best chance of achieving an integrated society. Give us the best chance. They're designed for that purpose.
So in this multiculturalism, which we enjoy, there's a big difference for Singapore. We don't just allow ethnic communities just to coexist side by side, live and let live, but we do the integrationist type of multiculturalism. That means the state is very conscious that integration is primary. And therefore, within the embrace of multiculturalism, central to this is this whole idea of getting ethnic communities, to share common views, common values, common principles, and that in a way will unify people of diverse cultural backgrounds.
Singaporeans of different backgrounds can often be seen participating in each other's festivals and celebrating together. While the picture of Singapore today is considered by many to be the epitome or beacon of multiculturalism, the situation in the 1960s was a far cry from this.
On 21st July 1964, a procession was held to celebrate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad. The procession was to begin here at the Padang in front of City Hall. An estimated 20,000 Muslims were gathered here. But a series of clashes broke out between the Malays in the procession and Chinese bystanders. This triggered communal violence, which spread all across the island.
Racial tensions were high, shops were closed and streets were deserted. The government called for a curfew throughout the island. Mr. Bajan Singh, retired school principal and former member of the Presidential Council for Religious Harmony, lived through those challenging times in Singapore's history.
Usually I go at night at about 8+ to buy tea from the Tetari men. And there was a big kampong, a multiracial kampong of Chinese, Malay, Indians and 20+ Sikh families living at Palmer Road. There's a big kampong at Palmer Road. And so this Tetari man at his stall, there were 2 or 3 groups sitting and whispering, talking in a hush-hush word. And normally the atmosphere around this Tetari man stall is very jolly, very chatty. I won't call it eerie, but there was an unusual silence, Person who is selling the tea, he speaks Hindi language, and he told me there is some problem and some incident has fighting or some trouble in the Gelang Kalang area. So that's when I first heard about it.
This was by no means the only racial riots that Singapore experienced. 5 years later, in 1969, racial tensions and communal violence in Malaysia spilled over into Singapore and left 4 people dead. These were among the darkest moments in the history of modern Singapore. The challenging times in 1964 and 1969 remain fresh in the memories of those who witnessed and lived through them.
69 was a totally a different kind of thing. I was in uniform and I was doing my officer cadet training, and I remember we were our all the officer cadet companies were alerted, you know. Some training was cancelled, you know. Field training was cancelled. I remember we had a live firing which was cancelled, you know. And we were asked to stand by. And there was a state of alertness.
1964, 2 communal riots. And we don't pretend to ourselves that they weren't communal riots. They were. We face facts. And this is one of the greatest strengths about Singapore, its willingness to face reality.
But the reality is that memories do fade. Singaporeans have been living in peace and harmony for so long, the younger generation, unlike Mr. Bajan Singh, has not lived through communal tensions and racial and religious disharmony. When we come back, find out how a society-wide approach in Singapore has been put in place to ensure that history does not repeat itself.